Hello, guys. This is the second part with Ole Krystian Vaaga. We talked briefly about maybe not even briefly, but more in the details about the off season last time. So if you haven't seen the first part, just find it somewhere on my on my channel. It's probably gonna be a recent video, unless you find that video like 5 years later or something like that. So just type the Ole Krystian Vaaga off season Dawid Olszewski, and you're probably gonna find it. I hope. At least want you to watch it, just because at the beginning of the first part, I basically created a scenario for the Ole that I am his new client, and he basically get me through out the whole off season and the beginning of the transition into the prep. So today we're gonna talk about a competition prep, about the peak week, and what to do when you are coming out of the prep. But first of all, how are you all?
I'm good. Thank you, David, for asking. And how are you?
I'm very well. I've
Okay.
just recently finished my shoulder workout, so I'm kind of sleepy.
Me too. Deadlift.
Yeah, yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. With a guest like you, it's gonna be just uh, pure fun. So I'm gonna wake up very quickly. So
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So first question for today that I wanted to ask you is how much time you like to have with your clients for the whole prep? Just because some guys like you do it like short ones, like 8 to 12 weeks, and recently the new idea and the new like area of coaches are doing even 25 weeks preps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what's your approach?
Well, it depends. We're still sticking with you as the example or
Yeah,
in
of
general?
course. So I am a 100 kilo guy who wanted to compete in the Open. So I wanted to transition into a new category, and Ola just made me 125 kilos, something like that. So it's probably like a 250 to 60 pounds, something like that. So
Yeah.
so just keep it in mind.
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, I do would like to like generalize it a little bit first because it all depends on the starting point.
Yeah.
Like if you see an athlete has in general high metabolism, you see they easily come into condition. It's not been that long ago since they were in condition. Like if they've been off season for 2 years or 3 years, or it's their first show, they need longer time, not necessarily to lose all the body fat, but to get that change in skin when it comes to surrounding the muscle bellies when the body fat goes down. And that takes time. I remember the first time I had to get like shredded glutes. I was basically ready 6 weeks out, but for the skin to tighten up and change in that way with now reduced, volume in general, not only muscular, but the subcutaneous fat that needs the skin to get back its elasticity, that took 6 weeks. So if you want to go for that like good condition that you also had now the last time, for you it's going to be easier because you were just there. So
Yeah.
most likely you won't need more than 12 to 14 weeks. But for other people, yeah, they might need 16 to 20. And if you come with a really bad starting point as a client, we have sometimes put up like 25 to 30 weeks. Then we split it in two. You take a first part, you get down to a certain condition because you want to have the advantages by having your body fat lower than 15, 13 body fat when it comes to the conversion from testosterone to DHT instead of estrogen. And you have all these other benefits from the thyroid side and the protein synthesis. So then you split it. So you do maybe like 10 weeks and you do 5 weeks and a little bit surplus. And then you do again the competition last 10 weeks to get to that place you need to be. But for you specifically, Probably I would do start like a pre-season just to find exactly your baseline around 16 to 18 weeks out, because it's the first time we're doing a show together.
Yeah.
And it's better to be conditioned 3 4 weeks out and be ready, and we can do a little bit of cheats, we can feed you up and we can gradually fill you back up so you can get like a better, not only glycogen storage, but you can also have fat storage inside the muscle cells as well. That also gives an illusion of a more round muscle belly on stage. So yeah, I guess that would be my guess for you, the amount of time needed.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so how's the training? Is it change in the contest prep or it stays basically the same?
Well, the first part, if you're still doing like maybe you're like, I don't know, 500 600 calories below a baseline deficiency, so you're going to lose potentially about half a kilo pure fat. If you look at it from 1 kilo body fat stored on the body is around roughly 7,000 calories, not nine, but around 7,000. So if you see then, okay, I can lose about like half a kilo of pure fat by the deficiency I'm in. And then you can calculate based on that, see like, okay, how many weeks do I need approximately?
Yeah, but I was asking about the training.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. But the training again, and the training is related to that part. So when you're that first part there, where you're only in a small deficiency, when you have like maybe half a kilo body fat being lost, then you can probably train more or less similar to how you would do in off season, because you're changing compounds, you're probably more androgenic, you have a better recovery, you have higher DHT, again, better recovery in general. Most people don't use that much GH off season, but you would do in a competition prep, again, speeding up your metabolism. So, and of course, the recovery is still good. So that's a great stage in the diet to train pretty heavy with the progressive overload to some extent. Either it's higher volume or higher frequency, or just something that is being changed, or just higher resistance from training to training. And then you can still grow. I see. You just change body composition. The weight is more or less the same, but you gradually change. When you get to the intermediate stage, usually I found it better to just auto regulate and try and stay close to like 1 to 2 rep away from failure on the main compound movements. For the isolations, like have like 1 or 2 rep left. So I'm just trying to maintain the strength throughout the diet in that part, because you're not using that much stuff in that intermediate part there. And then you have the last 6 weeks again towards the show. Then training is changed again as the third periodization in the diet. If you then do 6 6 6 18 in total. Very often then I figure out it's better with the lower volume, but you keep the intensity like you're close to failure, but the volume is fairly low. If you do have a body fat issue, instead of adding cardio, I found it better to just increase the metabolic stress in the training, so that you have a little higher, shorter breaks or supersets, or even you can do Milos, like those giant sets as a every 3 4 workouts, just for the change and to give some sort of new stimuli and see if you can kind of trick the body not to losing any muscle mass. So
Can
yeah,
you
that's what I would say with training.
can you keep the strength doing that?
I've done more or less all my diets. Now you lose like the relative strength is sometimes even better, but of course the maximum strength will be reduced. You don't notice that much on the first set in the workout on the compound, but you lose it throughout the workout. Of course, you get weaker than
Yeah.
you were, normally, but
Yeah.
you shouldn't lose much. Like if you are, let's say you're 120 kilo and you drop down to 105 kilo, you lost 15 kilo body weight. So if you normally were training with 200 kilo in squats, 15 reps, if you do 180 kilo in squats, 15 reps, you're still relatively stronger than you were before. you know
Yeah. And the people forget that the leverages are changing. when
Completely.
when you are less bloated and when you have less fat and stuff like that, and and the cushioning in your joints are actually almost disappeared at the end of the contest prep. So it's not
Yeah.
like you can bounce the bar of your chest and stuff like that
No.
freely. You feel the every move in your joints sometimes.
Yeah.
So you have to take a note on your sheets or any application you use that
Yeah.
it's basically or relative, as you said. But the common thing that people act for me is like you have to relatively keep your strength throughout the whole contest prep. Just because if you lose too much strength, you're probably going to lose the muscles. And I
Exactly.
I find that some coaches
Yeah.
are still keen into a changing your workup into a metabolic stress more than just like a intensity training. And I
Yeah.
think that's not a good idea.
No,
Maybe in the
no.
last 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, you probably have to pace yourself a little bit, but throughout
Yeah.
the whole 14 weeks, you should probably work as hard as you
Yeah.
do on the off season. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I said also. So the first part of your diet, those 6 weeks, week 18 to 6, you can still do a cluster SST. Then you can still
Yeah,
keep the high metabolic stress because you're not then your body has enough body fat that it's not hurting in any way. You can just change the body composition by having enough carbs, having enough protein, and just having so you have enough glycogen to do the proper intense workouts you need to. But the rest of the day, you're in deficiency and you need to take fat from the body.
yeah.
And that's what we see works the absolute best. People keep the fullness, they keep their strength, and they're losing body fat. That cardio, if it's just like light breeze, like you said, it's just a routine, it's relaxing, do it. But I rather focus on in the beginning on that. And then, like you said, the second part, train a little bit less volume. And for the last part, the last 6 weeks, volume has to be reduced. But in order not to lose the muscle mass, you should try and train with the same resistance, the same weight. That's
Yeah.
really important, or else you will lose muscle mass, of course.
Do you often have those guys who are 3 weeks into a contest prep and they are already losing their strength? Like, oh,
Oh,
my calories is so low and stuff like that. You see that, guys?
yeah, but there's every time a new client comes to us, we always ask for the current nutrition, the current training, the current everything,
Yeah,
just to get an overall picture of where things are. And every time they said they've been in a deficiency before, they usually have lost strength. But if you do the diet properly, you have all the nutrients that you need, and you're not in a deficiency in that sense that the body is only taking the calories it need from body fat stored. You're not losing strength. You're
yeah,
increasing in strength, actually.
yeah. Actually, your body is better utilized all the
Exactly.
foods you eat.
Yeah.
So I tend to find that the first 4 to even 6 weeks of the diet is when the strength is coming up like crazy,
Exactly.
to be honest. And I just can't believe that
No,
when I heard my client says I'm losing the strength. That's impossible. It's only on your mind
you
because
can't lose.
you are just not stopping yourself almost to that you're puking every 2 hours. So you are thinking, oh, I don't have an
No,
energy. Yeah.
no, no,
So
no,
yeah,
no. You're so right, David, and it's exactly true. But of course, if you're not eating enough carbs and you have a little higher fat in the diet, let's say you have 150 grams of fat instead of 50, and instead of then having 200 grams of extra carbs, you have then those 100 grams of extra fat. Like that fat you're eating is just going to be used as energy,
yeah,
but you're not having enough glycogen or carbohydrates to perform a properly intense workout. So you're going around semi-flat and you're not burning off that much body fat. But if the calories are the same, yes, you are, but you're feeling like shit and looking like shit, then you're going to be weak. The beginning, those weeks you're talking about in the diet, that's when you should do clusters and high intensity training because that's when you usually grow in the diet phase. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who are losing their strength, here's some motivation.
But very often also I see that they're losing strength because they have an extremely high volume. Like some of the programs we get from people, and we see that they have like maybe 8 exercises on chest with 3 sets on each.
Yeah.
It's like it's a ridiculous amount. I when I grew the most, I had like maybe 3 cluster sets and 3 normal sets in total on a quad workout.
You see, and sometimes just clients like to add extra junk volume just for the I don't know sake of being
No,
hardcore or something like that.
no, don't do
I
it.
recently have a new client who's actually we are doing a mini cut for the start of his like a time of working with me. Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
prepare him for the booking, and I paced him a lot of times with every check-in he is giving me just because I've told him to do 10,000 steps a day. So he doing a cardio on a treadmill
yeah,
after the workout just to do the steps, but
yeah,
not like a pace walk. He's just go as hard as he can. Yeah,
yeah,
and right now today check-in he's fucked.
yeah. No,
This is
it,
just a mini cat.
I,
Just a mini cat, and he's fucked. Like he was 2 weeks out. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is what I told him.
I know,
Man, just keep it slow. Keep it slow.
yeah, I know,
Do
I
what you
know.
have on the sheets on your plan, and that's
Yeah.
gonna be easy. So
No, every time it goes the wrong way, it's usually that they add. Usually, it's always because they add more activity.
yeah,
Yeah, then they never lose the fat. It's weird. Too
yeah.
much stress.
Have one guy who's finished his prep on 25,000 steps,
Oof.
even though he has I told him to do, I don't remember now, but 12, something like that. So yeah. But he gets his pro card.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah. So okay. So when it comes to the cutting calories, are you like to doing it slowly or you like to do something like a big jump for the first, for example, 4 weeks, and then you just slightly increase the calories or reduce the cardio or something like that, just to keep
yeah,
them in a range of
yeah.
like a
Well,
slowly.
everybody is so different, I see, because I myself am have in general very high metabolism, and it's easy to get the condition. So if I, but I do like to do like a cut, but in percentage, around 20%. Yeah, I would say that initial cut is 20% of the
Okay.
calories. So if you're eating 5,000 calories, you cut to four.
So it's basically like going just slightly under the deficit
Yes,
to be slightly under the maintenance. Sorry, just because
exactly. Well,
because to be honest, like if guy have like a 6,000 calories and you cut the 1,200 and he has like a 4,800 calories on his diet, he's most likely still in a highly high like end of his maintenance or
yes,
even maybe under his maintenance, but the water is just coming off of him and stuff like that,
yeah,
and intestines clears out a little bit and stuff like that. So that's
yeah,
the most part of the case. But
yeah.
yes, it's
So
like
I,
a
I I prefer that, yeah, because
yeah,
then people I've seen then most people usually grow then in those 6 weeks, but they're getting in better condition and their weight stays more or less the same.
it's like a recomp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you have that second part. And again, everybody's different. Some people you see you need to cut, you need to do another, maybe then you do like a 10% cut, 10%, and you do, and but again, you always have the diets are never flat. So if you then have cut that guy from 6,000 to 4,800, he still has most likely some deficiencies in the diet that's not covered completely because how can you cover everything with a diet? So you always have 2 meals a week, or 2 refeeds or 2 whatever. It depends on the person. If it's a high metabolism guy that responds super great, if he gets a high fat load just like once a week, then do that. If you see it, that if you have already experienced throughout the off-season period, and if he works best if he has 2 moderate fat meals but maybe higher carbs, then you do that. But going flat never works good. And I tried so many times and I never learned, because you always see that this person is not improving that much. And there was a new study that came out. Una told me about it a couple of days ago. And they did a measurement where they had people eating flat calories, and you had people that was eating same calories, but they also had like a refeed in there. Within 16 weeks, the accumulated fat loss in both control groups were exactly the same. So psychologically, it's more easy to do with the little refeeds, alternative meals. Every now and then you have different food sources instead of eating always the same. Yes?
But are the calories are matching in both groups, or the group with the refeeds has slightly more calories due the cheat meals?
Group with the refeeds had slightly higher. Just a second. Honey.
Yes.
Yes. But how much higher?
Just additional meal.
Just additional meal.
Okay, so kinda a lot, to be honest.
So if you summarize then everything, let's say you have a 16-week diet, and you don't have those meals, so that's 16 times that meal, but it's not much. Look at the big picture.
Yeah, of course.
Let's say you have like 1,000 calories 18 times extra, 18,000 calories divided on 18 weeks. Yeah. But it's still 1,000 calories extra a week compared to if you didn't do it, and you still lose the same fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the theory of all those guys calorie in, calorie out just crashed.
It's not but it's debunked long time ago, because one thing is the bioavailability, yeah. One thing if it's the food source itself. No, there's too many factors. But
yeah,
in general, like, have those meals, because they're good for the body if you look at it from a health perspective. Because what do we see with most coaches and the diets? They're incomplete. You can't make a complete diet without making it way too complicated, and you're not functional. You need to be a pro and not do anything else, or you need to have someone make your food.
Yeah. To be honest, a healthy diet is the diet that is healthy also when it comes to the mind. So you are not afraid of eat something. So
don't be afraid to eat. No.
For those guys who have children and stuff like that, you just can't be afraid to go with your daughter on a walk and just go on an ice cream or something like that. Just not being a totally peak, just because you don't have to eat 18 bowls of ice cream when you
don't eat stuff like that.
Yeah. But I am just saying that I have clients that are afraid to eat, for example, cereal post-workout because they contain sugars.
Yeah, but if we're so metabolically healthy.
Yeah, but this is the same fucking glucose that is in the rice. And after your workout, especially, your GLUT4 receptors are opened up and receiving the glucose much higher. So your body probably won't gonna benefit from those simple sugars more than from the rice. So why they are afraid of eat something that is low in fat? It's just pure glucose after a workout.
Yeah, I think maybe because we're being, all in the media, we're being pushed, with the fructose, and that's true. If it's frequent in high amounts, fructose, it's basically poison. It's alcohol. You get fatty liver. You get metabolic diseases. The fructose part is not good. We know that. But for people like us, who trains, who is metabolically healthy, our metabolism is 4 or 5 times, more efficient even, especially if in a deficiency like that diet we talked about now, where you're having, just below baseline, but just under, you're in a little bit deficiency, but you still have high protein, high carb, but the fat is being just taken, from the excess energy you need throughout the day. It's been taken from your fat storage. And when you utilize the energy that efficiently. The insulin sensitivity goes up, the protein synthesis go up, and you just, I think that's why you grow, because you're training more or less the same. You're using the same stuff as off season, but I always feel I grow and get stronger in that period, and I think it's because of the utilization and that effect that has on different hormones makes you just grow. You just put your body in a more anabolic state when you're in a small deficiency and have body fat to take from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. This is why you grow so much post contest.
exactly.
It's
And you
perfect
have,
environment.
yeah, and like we talked about, you have that extreme high utilization of amino acids compared to off season. You suck in everything. You can. Oh, there was a research also. Maybe she can remember that with the how much after post competition, how much more percentage protein could you uptake?
Uh,
20, 15, 20%?
I think increase even in the additional 150 grams.
Yeah, it can increase up to like 150 grams and
Oh
still
yeah,
absorb, because you can measure, you can measure the nitrogen balance and you can measure
yeah,
in your pee, so you can have control of that. You see how much is being utilized. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so for sure, those I would say those two periods, the 6 week start of diet and the 6 week post competition, if you want, that's the most productive periods in a year you can make for muscle gain.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I totally agreed with that. And I saw that on myself and my clients as well. Yeah.
yeah.
So when it comes to the PEDs changes in the contest prep, do you like to start right at the beginning, or you leave the compounds that was like in the off season and you changed it up, I don't know, like a 12 weeks, 14 weeks out or something like that. Like we assuming that we are doing 18 weeks prep.
Yeah. Well, for you specifically, would probably split it into high androgen beginning, low androgen in between, and then high androgen last 6 weeks.
Okay. And the anabolics are just coming up, yeah?
Yeah.
Just replacing the dose of the androgens,
Yes.
probably. Okay, so it's more likely how everyone's do it, to be honest.
I mean, that part we've seen for 50 years.
Yeah,
We,
but
we know what works.
do you have sometimes a guy who needs to leave the testosterone very high at the end just for the fullness and stuff like that? Because some guys are dry by themselves and they can allow themselves to leave the test higher and the
Yes.
GH and stuff like that, and they have striated glute no matter what. So,
Yes.
do you like to do it?
It depends on the person, because and also
Highly,
the
yeah,
condition. Because the better the condition, like you can use Anadrol and 1,000 milligrams of testanentat, and you still be dry if you're conditioned enough.
yeah,
Doesn't matter. Like, so I say that, like, focus on condition, and then you will be dry no matter what.
yeah. This is the Roman Fritz method. He's dry to
Probably, I
the
don't know.
to the bone. This is why he can eat like a McDonald's for the 8 meals, 10 days out.
Yeah. No, but you can't. If you're conditioned enough, it doesn't matter what you do the last week.
Yeah, it's hard to screw it up. Yes.
You can't mess it up.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the only thing you can mess it up with is to stop drinking and salting and eating.
Especially salting,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing a diuretics, because some people are just not get it how it works.
Oh, no.
But
No, I've
that's
heard about some horror stories there.
yeah, I've done some horror stories myself.
Yeah.
So so yeah, what's the best times to incorporate the fat burners like cleniohimbine, GH, fragment and stuff like that? Uh,
Not a fan of
uh,
anything.
anything.
Clenbuterol is
Okay.
poison for your heart. That's
Yeah,
one
it
thing.
is. It
Shouldn't
is.
use. Like, if you're so fat that you have to use clenbuterol, then you should probably just diet 2 more weeks.
So you're just not using any of them?
No, no, I
Not
don't think
even
so. It's like the more the I remember I dug into it like deep twice the last 10 years. And every time I dug into it, the more terrified I got. Like, should, and especially If you're advising someone else, then no. I think that it's up to people to decide for themselves. Like, we only suggest, like, here's maybe what you can do, but we're not doctors or anything. We're just giving based on knowledge that we have found and what we've experienced, and we share that. But in the end, I think, no. I don't think it's going to get anywhere there. No.
Okay, so none of the fat burners.
Just GH, and of
not
course,
even GH fragment or Joachim Bein.
I don't know, no. And again, I think, like, in general, if you're not stressing and you're training in high intensity, you're having a well-balanced diet that has the right omega-3, 6, 9 combination, you have the fibers, you try to keep the HDL as good as possible, you do all these preventive things in your nutrition, then I think it's better to do like that and stay away from as much as possible that will influence the heart in a negative way, besides what we're already doing.
Yeah.
And then clenbuterol, ephedrine, all those things, they're bad. Like, I talk to certain cardiologists, and they say, like, especially like those ephedrines and stuff, anything that's stimulants, even pre-workouts, like, they see declining heart, capacity and how the heart is functioning in young people. And it's not, and they don't even use steroids, some of them. And then you have like 28, 29-year-olds that use ephedrine for like 2 years straight, and they come and they have like chest pain and heart issues, and they have like heart of a 60-year-old.
Yeah, but isn't that just a little bit too harsh on those compounds? Just because if you are, to be honest, if you ask any doctor about the GH or about the testosterone, not in the TRT, but in like a sports dosages and stuff like that, they would probably told you the same. So, and basically the probably the exams will show similar effects, maybe not on a heart, but on a cancer cells, on or your liver, on your pancreas and stuff like that, depending on what you use. So every compound
there isn't. Because I was in a control study, and we were in twice, 2014, 2018. We did MRI brain scan for structural changes. We did cognitive tests. We did cardiovascular tests. We did all these things. And guess what? Did mine change from 14 to 18? And my friends that only use steroids? No. Did those people that use some sort of stimulants, amphetamines, ephedrines, all those things, change a lot cardiovascular? Yes.
Yeah, I am not saying
that was enough. That was enough hard evidence for me, and the research is out. So, like, I can even send it if you want.
Yeah, but I am not arguing with you at all. I know that those compounds are harsh, but remember that some guys are abusing it a lot. I saw the protocols that people comes to the 300 micrograms of clenbuterol, and I've never used with my client more than 100, and 100 is a fucking high dose for me. Like a 60 is like a most I've ever used, 60 to 80 maybe. That's all, nothing more. So I don't think that anyone should use more. Sometimes 100 if they are just back to the wall and have no time, zero time, and the show is coming because they have some problems and stuff like that. I have a client like that right now. Like, he has some health issues, and that's why we are a little bit late. But those are just rare cases. But those guys, especially those who are not competing, those seasons guys, they're using a crazy amount. I don't even know how they are just choking that many tablets.
No, and that's the thing also, because I noticed too that the more professional someone is, actually the less they use and the more proper they use it compared to those people who not compete, and usually they don't have the nutrition in place. They don't have a plan with the training. They basically just use steroids and that's it, and kind of nothing happens. But again, just to finalize the whole part with the fat burners. No, I firmly believe that nutrition is good enough in deficiency together with GH, together with androgens, because of course the DHT will be increased a lot, and of course we know DHT fires up the protein synthesis and the metabolic rate a lot. So, and you use trenbolone in addition, for example, you have the IGF factor as well. You have increased metabolic, So in general, if you don't lose enough body fat by that, and you have the added T3, because you will have a down regulation, especially in the last part of the diet, those last 6 weeks. So maybe start that 12 weeks out. You're really good to go. Like, you don't need clenbuterol. I highly doubt anybody needs that. And you have to think long term, because bodybuilding it's a long term game. It's not something you just do 1 year and it's like, okay, I can make some damage to my body now and then it will recover after. You're going to do this subsequently for the next 15, 20 years. Like, you have to find some balance that will give you longevity so you can continue doing it for that many years, because it takes a long time to build a physique.
Yeah.
And then I think it's important to think heart health. Like, have a CPAP machine. If you have sleep apnea, check those things up. Don't use stimulants to as little degree as you can. Okay, if you have to use a little bit of clenbuterol, fine. Moderate dosages and just, and that's what I mean in general. Like, we have enough studies on steroids for certain amounts being used for certain amount of periods, for certain amount of years. We have that. So we have a kind of good understanding of what we're doing, what are we sacrificing to live the life that we want. For, we're shortening our life to some extent to have the quality of life that we want. But you can't, since we're doing that, we have to be careful with everything else. Because if we're not careful with everything else, we're not going to last that long.
That should be a staple, but I've noticed a lot that people are just neglecting the simple facts. For example, the hematocrit case is probably the most common one. People are just asking what to use for my hematocrit. Like, they are IP6 and stuff like blood meds, like blood pressure medications they use, IRB and stuff like that. And you ask them how much liters of water you drink a day.
Yeah.
A lot, like 2-3 liters a day. Man, are you a 35-kilo bikini chick? 3 liters of water? I drink more before my first meal. Yeah. So yeah, they just forgetting about the basic stuff, like sleep,
so
like drinking, like eating enough fiber in your diet and stuff like that. That's this is not a topic for today.
No, but it's true, because I burnt myself on that, and that's a good tip to bring. When you give off these peak weeks and the diets in general, like, for some people, it's not. It makes sense that, okay, I'm just salt, like sodium in general, and all those things. The type, like, they don't think about that, so you have to tell them.
Yeah.
It's so many times that all of a sudden people come, it's like, oh, it's so, like, they feel something is missing, and they didn't salt the food. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, so you have to sometimes, just put it with a teaspoon.
When it comes to the salt, I found that it's even funnier, because I have like a template for my diets. Yes, because I am not like gonna write to everyone how many grams of carbs is in the rice. So I have template, and on the template it's highlighted the salt that you have to salt according to your needs, and examples how many salts the regular guy should take, and how you should adjust your based on what and stuff like that. And 3, 4, 6, 8 months within the coaching, some guy told me, oh, I saw on your YouTube video that you salt 15 grams of salt a day, and I am not using the salt at all. I said, what?
Exactly.
You're not using the salt at all?
Happened to me too.
Yeah, that's
because
crazy.
I didn't tell, but it's our fault because we didn't tell.
Yeah, but that it was on his plan. It's like a 20 like a pages plan, and they just scroll down to the diet. Okay, PEDs. Okay, training. Yeah. Okay, great. That's all.
True, true.
Yeah,
But that's why I prefer to have FaceTime and then make
I've always do the phone call
yeah,
at the beginning, but the people just don't ask, and sometimes you forget just because
yeah,
this is
I
so
know.
obvious for you that you're
Exactly.
not even thinking
Exactly.
about it. Yeah,
And it's like salt and water and but so we started and that to send, especially Una. She writes how much MSM, how much glucosamine, how much
yeah,
calcium, like potassium, how much this, how much that, because people, or else people like things that's obvious to us, like you say, they don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Especially if it's more normal people that's non-athletes, they don't think about that at all.
And athletes sometimes just work in their own like routine regime, and it's very hard to change it.
Yeah,
So if he was doing something for years, for example, he is not using a salt almost at all, or
yeah,
maybe in the condiments that he use, he has some salt in that,
yeah,
then he just, even if you told him, he just forgets just because
yeah.
he was not adding it for the 15 years. So
Mm,
just it's not
exactly.
in
Yeah,
his routine, yeah. And for
yeah,
us, it's like breathing.
yeah.
I can't imagine to eat something without a salt. It's
Oh my God, terrible.
first of all, it tastes like shit,
Yeah,
and second of all, I like my pumps, man.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
I like to. Yeah.
So what
Nothing
about
wrong. Nothing wrong with salt. That's
yeah,
misunderstood.
nothing.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
misunderstood.
If you are a bodybuilder, because if you're eating 6 times a day on a McDonald's, you don't need additional salt.
No.
You have plenty of it.
Yes. Yeah.
But okay, I wanted to ask you about the GH because you told that you're probably going to increase the GH dosages in the contest prep, and you said like a 6 to maybe 8 IUs tops on the off season. So what about the contest prep? The more is more?
No. 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 That first period is when you use the most. And
Okay.
then it's like 6 to 8, but again depending on the quality, because like sometimes you have like because abroad, for example, in Iran or the Dubai, we had one there, I remember, and it's like 2 units felt like five.
It,
Sometimes it's just like I don't trust
overdose?
that. Yeah, I don't know, but sometimes it's just difficult to feel. So I usually go with the baseline. Like you start low, start with two, and you use the same, and then gradually just build up through the off season to figure out where is kind of your sweet spot. And for some, that's three or four or even two, depending on the potency of what they have. And sometimes the potency is shit, and they have to use eight. It's just different. So again, there's no simple answer to that question.
It's
But
hard. It's hard to believe for me that someone use your size using 4 IUs of GH. That's like I would
if you
say
really
like
want to,
15 to 20 at least.
well, I don't know. Again, it depends on everybody is different. You have, the sensitivity in general, and you
Of
have also
course, yeah.
conversion to IGF-1. And for example, for me, usually if I had a potent one and I went above, let's say 4 units, it puts I got like that carpal tunnel syndrome in my hands, and I
Okay.
couldn't function. So then it's limiting me, and it's not giving me, it's reducing my quality of life, and that's the side effect. And if it continues over a long time, you're going to lose that nerve.
So let me ask it that way, because that's an obvious reason to not use more because you have to live a normal life. That's
Yeah.
and with that it's pretty hot. But if you are using uh 10, 12, 15 IUs and you don't have that effect, will you use it? Or you just
No,
think
no,
that
no,
it's
because
just too much?
if you're that shit with the GH, then you probably have a high conversion problem to IGF-1, so you don't get that potency you need. You should never
Okay,
use GH. Then you should use IGF-1 instead directly, LR3 type.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you sometimes combine it?
No, I don't see the effect in that. I think it's better to split it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what's the best time to incorporate? I don't know. I asked you the question again. So what's the diet change in prep? You like to cut the carb first or the fat first?
Uh, well, let's say you cut off.
Protein,
Huh?
sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
protein probably stays the same, yes? Throughout the
Protein
whole.
protein stays the same for
Okay,
the
okay.
first at least. But because what we've seen is that usually when you're in a deficiency, like you're in that first period in your diet, that 6 week, when you're just in a small deficiency, you're high energetic, you're firing well, you're utilizing the energy or the nutrients you're eating properly. If you add even protein there, we see backed up by research, and Una just showed me again a few days ago, it increases the metabolic rate. So you're burning more fat by actually eating more protein.
Okay.
So you can experiment there and try and figure out. Again, everybody's different, but I noticed too that when I was pushing protein quite high, body fat kind of I didn't feel I got calories from the proteins. I didn't. No, it's like it didn't turn into fat or something.
Yeah.
So you can increase the protein a little bit, and carbs you can reduce a little bit, and the fat just stays the same if it was already at 50. And you have those 2 meals every.
Yeah.
So if you were eating like 800 grams of carbs, now you're going to be eating, like let's say 600. But you're still going to feel pretty damn good. But you're in that slight deficiency, hopefully. But that's again where you have that pre-contest prep phase before 2-3 weeks. You have so let's say you start 18 weeks up, but you have like a week or 2-3 where you figure out where's my baseline, and so you know exactly where you should put yourself on the calorie.
Yeah, of course. Just wanted to ask you at the end of the contest prep, like closer to the show, do you like to go extremely low with the fats? Like for example, no additional fats, but just the from the meats and like a fish and stuff like that, or do you like to still keep that 50 grams of fat range in place?
Like to always keep it, because try to keep the LDL as good as possible for as long as possible.
Okay, okay. Okay. So, more cardio and more food, or less cardio and less food? I probably know the answer based on your feeling to the cardio in general, but some guys are needed. Yes.
Sometimes it's
Uh,
needed. That's what I
yeah.
said, case by case.
Yeah. So if a guy is tends to losing the fats a little bit slower, and he has to do, for example, 5 to 6 times a week, 30 to 35 minutes of cardio, you like to incorporate that, or you gonna just cut more of their foods?
No, I would probably, if he's already eating high calories, he's already eating, let's say that case you said now, 4,800, I would just put them down instead.
Okay.
He could be probably all the way down to 3,000 in the end of the diet if he has to.
As less cardio as possible, basically.
I think so, because you're stressing the body and you're causing unnecessary muscle breakdown in a deficient state. And I don't know. Seems to work well to reduce the volume, to keep the strength and the muscle mass you have, and then not having that much cardio, and rather
Yeah.
control it better with the food, and have those meals like we talked about that we see gives in the end the same amount of kilos lost.
Seems like all of your ideas when it comes to cutting is based on well preparing on the contest prep period. Because if someone fucks up their off season, he probably not gonna be handle your methods on a cutting phase, because you know those guys. He is like a 400 grams of carbs and getting fat as fuck, and he told you, "Oh, I just can handle the fats, the carbs. I
Yeah,
just getting fat when I eat the carbs," and you just taking under your wings, just switching up all his meals, just
yeah,
keep the cheat meals frequency in
yeah,
range,
yeah,
and all of a sudden he eats like 800, 900 carbs, and he's not fat.
exactly.
What's happened?
Happened,
Yeah.
happened many times. People, I remember this one guy specifically. He came and he was eating 3,000 calories with a bad composition, and he was adding body fat.
Yeah.
After just, I think it was not long, the 12, 13 weeks, he was losing body fat on 3,800.
Yeah. I saw that basically with my clients as well, just because the people is like you said, have just fucked up metabolism.
Exactly. Yeah.
because the insulin sensitivity is low.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically it's all goes around that. If you're metabolically healthy, you can do wonders. You can
You
do
can do one,
wonders.
but the most important things, don't let yourself go above 15% body fat approximately.
Yeah,
That's rule number one. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd say so. For insulin sensitivity, ability to utilize the energy properly, and conversion for hormones, thyroids. No, number one, be fit in that sense. Yeah.
yeah. Visible abs are needed even
Yes.
in off season. Yeah, of course, I
And
agree
and,
with
and
that.
of course try and compete every year.
Yeah, to just basically resynthesize
Yeah.
your body. Yeah.
Unless you need to do a drastic change to the body when it comes to muscle mass, then of course a year or two off is needed. Yeah.
Okay. So let's says that I am in a stage of my contest prep that we are not having additional meals planned.
No,
You, you don't have that period?
no. We always
Okay.
have meals.
Okay. So because I wanted to
We-
ask
we-
you
because we
about
because we tried
because
one time now without in that last period and it didn't work.
yeah, but I probably asked the question wrong, just because it's normal that you go doing a refeeds and cheat meals and stuff like that. But do you prefer to do it like a cheat meal or refeeds in that case? Just because
Refeed. Refeed.
I tend to find it's works better with the refeeds. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have the period with my clients in a time frame of the contest prep that they don't have the high days anymore. But
No,
if I saw that the body just melted,
exactly.
I've
Yeah.
just put it a high day
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
refeed day or
Yeah.
sometimes even a
Yeah.
3 days in a row
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they need it. Yeah, or I
Yeah.
pulled out the
Yeah.
cardio or pulled out the fat burners because I use it
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
and I wanted to ask you about that because in the off season it's normal for me that I have basically tried to set my guys on a 3 days like a cycle. So you have low days, high days, and medium days.
Yeah.
So like probably to the like a half of the prep, the high day will probably stay. But then I just reduce the high day and just incorporate it when it's needed.
Yeah. No, I did that for a few years, and I figured the result was the same in the end, and that was just complicating the diet.
Okay.
But again, you have to see person by person. But I do exactly like you do. And that's where you can't say the diet is best to be done like this or this or that. It's so individually different. There's so many factors that plays in that
Of
you
course.
have to do like you said, that you see they're flattening out and you ask them, is the workout number 2 or 3 that's shit now where you don't feel your muscle? Okay, reduce the volume 2 days, increase the food 2 days, and then let's see. That will happen with you, for example, the last 8 weeks before the show.
Okay, okay. And we are clean foods, yes? Like not no cheat meals, not even a cheat meals making in a home, but more rice, more potatoes, more
No,
like
no. I think it's important to add some other foods.
okay.
So if you don't have, for example, red meat in your diet normally, you should have 2 red meals, a week. But they're clean. You can take pure beef and you can grind it. Can you make yourself a beef burger? You can even buy a beef burger. Yes, the fat content is going to be a little bit higher, but that's what we want because
Yeah,
you're having a low fat diet and you don't have all the fat sources that you need in your diet. So it's important to have alternate food every now and then, but it's not shit food. It's hard cheese, it's a homemade burger, it's just bread, it's just carb, it's just it's a
okay.
processed food, but it's not like super bad. And just like some make your own fries that you have chopped so for extra carbs, or that type of meals twice a week. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that I think should stay more or less always because you need those fats and different amino acids, and you just need it because there's so many other nutrients inside the meat besides just protein, carbs, and fat.
yeah, of course. Yeah. That's mega sense. I just wanted to pinpoint that for you a cheat meal is something that for some guys is just a regular meal. So, so
No,
yeah, but because if someone heard like a cheat meal, they immediately in his head thinks about the number for that pizza he ate last week. So this
yeah,
is why I wanted to put it here,
yeah.
just the
No,
people to know.
I
Yeah.
would say my limit is off season when they have that, once or twice a week. If they have it once a week, I'd say that, okay, you can go to this burger place that's, it's clean, just buy two burgers. And yeah, they get like 50 grams of extra fat, 80 grams of extra protein, and maybe like 150 grams of extra carbs. But you get all these other things also of nutrients inside that meal itself. So that's the most like cheat food I would give, because like going and having like deep fried that
Yeah.
we want to give the body nutrients. It's not shit. We don't want to. Shit food doesn't have nutrients. It's stripped from nutrients.
Yeah. And basically it's just
Ultra processed food
pro-inflammatory.
yeah, exactly. Ultra processed food doesn't have any nutrients. It's basically just empty carbs and protein and fat. It's like doesn't have anything to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
I've
also
agreed.
know,
And it fucked up your digestion too.
fucks up the
Especially in off season
yeah,
when people struggle to eat and they just order a pizza and next day he just skipped 5 or 4 meals because his stomach was aching or something like that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
basically just counterproductive. Yeah,
yeah. No, I agree. The cleaner you eat, the better it is.
of course.
I've done that for all these years, and I see that basically everybody I know on that level also did and do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into a peak week because this is the funny part, the magic week for some guys. They're thinking that they are turning the slabs of fat on their backs into basically a hard rock steel looking Branch Warren kind of physique.
Yeah.
So, do you cut the GH before the competition? And if the answer is yes, how long before?
Well, if you're not dry and you're having fat, well, you're not dry because you're having fat, then take away the
Let's
GH.
assume that
Then
I am. Let's assume that I don't have a fat because you are preparing me. So
keep it,
you are not
keep it,
allowing me with to be fat.
keep it, because you get a nice fullness from it when you're lean, lean. You
Okay,
know,
but you
lean.
but you
Huh?
probably sometimes have a guys. Even though they lean, they are tend to have a slightly thicker skin when they are on the GH. I've noticed that.
Yeah, a little bit, some, but then again, individual. If you see that, take it away. If you don't, why take it away? Because you get that little nice extra roundness that do look a little bit extra impressive on stage.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you cut the test or lower it as much as possible before the show? And if so, how long before the show?
In 90% of the cases, I would say lower it to as low as possible. And that means like 50 milligrams of propionate every second day, for example.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a tier two baseline, just
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
keep the this little bit fullness and well-being.
Yeah. You don't
Yeah,
want to mess up with your head that last week.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Especially if you're doing a it for recent 80 weeks or something like that, or
Yeah. Exactly.
couple of years in my case.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long before a show you start to leveling up the water and sodium intake? What I mean by that is, for example, 10 days out, you told to your guy to me, for example, have 6 liters of water and 50 grams of salt daily. That's your
Yeah.
staple.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you do something like
Well,
that?
no, no, no. It's like, oh my God. Again, depends on the person, depends the condition, depends on a lot of factors. Depends if it's a man or a woman, if they're estrogen dominant. Like there's everybody responds so different to that phase. Like, and I noticed myself, I responded different on those 15 seasons I did, and every show. It was never the same, even though I sometimes did exactly the same thing. So, so really, what I've seen works. I can just say what I figured out is the most safe thing to do on a general term, and that's the most simple thing as well. Just keep the water as is, keep the salt as is, be in a pretty damn good condition. Yes.
I think I've asked it. You just don't understand what I've asked. I probably just used slightly incorrect words because you told me what I wanted to hear. Just keep the sodium and water the same. And I mean that when I said 6 liters of water and 50 grams of salt, because some guys
Yes.
I just don't know.
No.
See, and
No. No.
this is
No.
why I
Exactly.
told them, for example, 10 days out, I've always told my guys just keep like whatever you do it. So
Yeah.
count out how many liters of water you drink a day, how many grams of salt you eat, and keep it that
Yeah.
because we don't want it to
No. No.
fluctuate
No. No.
daily.
As little as possible. I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
And because you see, I seen like throughout the years, and I've been on the sideline, and people from the gym when we competed together back in like 2008, 9, 10, we were like 20, 30 people. And then I saw what everybody did. So you learn a lot, and I saw those people that was water loading, messing up with their aldosterone, you know, manipulating with salt, huge variation throughout the week. Like 9 out of 10 times it didn't work. They became a little bit flat and a little bit like soft in their skin. But then again, back then, that was on a national level. We weren't dry and conditioned enough. But what I see is, like you said, keep it as simple as possible. And if you're eating like you do, training like you do until Wednesday, and usually just fill up on Wednesday and Thursday, reduce the salt on Friday. You take the diuretic or whatever if you're going to do it that simple way, and you're on stage on Saturday. Maybe even Sunday. You can even taper it out. It depends. But it's so like I said, one show for me, and then 3 weeks later, not the same is going to work. Have to do different with water, salt, and carb. So
yeah,
there's no, I can't tell you. Like, have to take
yeah.
it as it comes.
That's the obvious one, just because even the hormones levels like aldosterone and stuff like that is just changing throughout the from show to show just because of the water rebound and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
just sometimes you just can't predict. You have to work hours by hours almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's normal. But uh, I am not gonna ask you about the diuretic use because you said if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
But are you a fan or like you using it as a staple? So, for example, you planning to use it, or you doing everything that you don't have to use it, but sometimes you just have to.
Do so you don't have to, yeah. Try not to. And if you
Okay.
have to, it's like half a diazide or maybe like two half a diazides, and then that's it. Avoid loop diuretics. Avoid like the horror stories always comes when the potassium is being
Yeah.
depleted too much, and it's like you have to be careful. And there we have a responsibility. If you do
Depleted
that,
or just potassium loaded
yeah,
because some guys still doing it. They
yeah,
load potassium,
uh,
and that's the scary one, just because you
scary
have to
part.
stop your
Loading,
heart.
yeah, no, then you will go into cardiac arrest at some point.
This is how you put it down the dogs.
Yes,
Yeah,
people
some
and
people
it's
just don't know it.
no, that's why it's so crazy. But no,
Yeah,
like try and make the week, try and make if you're conditioned, like you again get conditioned. You don't need
yeah,
even
yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. The less is more when it comes to the diuretic use. I'd
yeah.
like to use some, like you said, like a quarter tub of diazide just before the night before the show or something like that. But it's
Just to
just a
put
tip
it on charge.
yeah, just
But you
just a
continue.
cherry on a cake, yeah. And that's like the protocol. I saw guys using like an aldactone uh, 2 weeks out or something like that. This is just messing up your aldosterone, and you
Yes, now I can hear you again. I'm sorry.
yeah. So like I said, like using an aldactone is not a great idea.
Oh
Going
no,
to
I
the end.
tried Aldactone once, never again. Couldn't fill out, couldn't do shit, and I was like this. I was young, like this back in like 2011.
Yeah, it's blocking the resorption of the sodium, so
Yeah,
you just
terrible.
can't put the glycogen into yourself.
No, no, don't use that ever. No, again, in general, stay away from diuretics. Stay away from like those type of fat burners because again, you're like what we're doing is not healthy, and those things are, then you're playing a dangerous game sometimes.
Yeah.
Like there's no, just stay away. Try, and again, like I try to tell everybody, like if you're uncertain about something, it's your own responsibility to look into it.
Of course.
If someone from the outside comes to me and say, hey, maybe you should do something like this, I heard and read, blah, 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 you still should check it yourself, even though you're a client, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Some clients just put the responsibilities on the coaches, but to be honest, you are a grown man, and I don't work with guys under the 18 years old. So if you are over the 18, you are just basically like you're self-dependent. So I might suggest you something, but it's your decision if you use it or not. So yeah, you should know everything about it.
Yeah.
Have basically the same knowledge as I. So yeah, I agree with that. So how often do you let your guys carb up on junk food, or you use clean food only? I've asked the question only because the some guys are just waiting for that burger.
Well, of course, like post competition, have whatever you want.
Yeah, but I said carb up, so
No,
before the
yeah, if
competition.
like seriously, if you're good enough, like you're conditioned to dry and hard, if you want two burgers on that Friday evening, fine. If it, I see maybe it can cause distension in the digestion, I would just say, please, just wait 2 days.
Yeah,
Like, what's going to give you? You've been on a diet for 18 weeks, so you want to potentially screw up being first and fourth because your stomach is going to be
yeah,
distended. Just wait it out.
yeah. This is why I've almost never used junk food.
No, no, no. That
It is not
I've seen it
predictable.
happen. Yeah, no, no. I went to shit for me one time. I tried, and no, terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, and you not even know how many grams of salt it have and stuff like that.
No.
It's sometimes it's just overload with that. So yeah. So what about the food on a show day? Because this is the controversial one. Some guys says that they are not eating anything. Some eats almost until the stepping up to the stage. So
Yeah.
what's your approach?
Well, if
Obviously depends, but
yeah,
most of the time, let's see. I'm waking up and I'm kind of flattish on the flattish side. What would you do? Just add some water, salt, or try to load me up with the carbs a little bit.
if I knew that if you were full the other days after the carb up and you were gradually depleting a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, then I knew the fat wasn't high enough because then you're starting to use the glycogen for everyday use, etc. So most likely I would probably try and give you a high fat breakfast just to see how you respond. If we see that you fill out on that with the water and salt, let's say half a gram of salt, half a liter of water, and 5 eggs, and just like get a little bit fat in there, like 35, 40 grams of fats and protein, and you respond well to that, then okay, then that was the issue. And then we're probably just going to do a normal meal and maybe add a little bit more fat throughout the day until you get to stage, because fat is calorie dense and it's small, so it doesn't give off that waste. We want to
Yeah,
keep things as tight as possible. But if that doesn't work and we see a fuck, your carb is being depleted, fuck, we need to replenish. Then you need to probably drink like 2 liters of water, eat like 300 grams of carbs, and probably have like 2, 3, 4 grams of salt, and we can maybe save it, but not a guarantee.
okay, yeah. I I don't have this question here, but this is probably a very fun question to ask. Do you do something like a fat load before the carb load, just to load it up the intramuscular triglyceride, or don't? Because I was doing it for the first time 2.5 years ago, 1.5 years ago, something like that, when I worked with Dominic Mutasio.
Mm-hmm.
And he, for the first time, loaded me with the fats first, and then we just carb upped.
Yes.
And it worked pretty good, I will say. Right now with Luki, we do kind of same stuff. And
Yeah.
I've started to use it a year ago with my clients as well, and I
Yeah.
see that is like it's like a miracle trick. So
Yeah. No, all the way back in 2008. This was introduced to be when I got help, as a young guy.
Yeah.
2008 isn't yesterday, it's 16 years ago.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, so then we were taught that, you would be lowering your carbs to like 100 grams. I think we had 100 grams, but keep in mind, I went on stage on 74.8 in 2008.
Oh my God.
Yeah, first show, first note. And anyway, so
Can't believe that. It's like your one arm right now.
well, anyway, well, I completely lost track. What was the?
Yeah, you told me that some coach that you work in
Yes,
2008.
yes.
Yeah.
So we increased then the fat Monday, Tuesday. So the fat was just like we added peanut butter. We made it simple back then. It wasn't that thought to think about. And then of course you carb up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday you manipulate with the water and a little bit with the salt, and then Saturday is prejudging in the morning like 11, 12, and then you have the finals like 8, 9 p.m.
Yes.
And then we did exactly like that, and that works for me, and for I've seen people, it works up to a certain level, I feel, because for me, the bigger I got, I couldn't do that anymore, because that's what I also did for many years, because I couldn't fill out enough. So I needed to start eating earlier and eating more and actually combining them more instead of having them pure fat, pure carb day. So mine is very different. And again, I've seen people respond very similar to do the opposite by having just normal carb up and carb up over a little over carb, and then just completely take away the carbs for the last 2 days before the show and just fat load then instead. So I've seen the opposite way of doing things, and they seem to work pretty much the same way.
So I think I do something similar to you, because I never purely carb load.
No,
I've always add a little bit, like a 5 to 10 grams of fat with each meal, just to hold it up a bit, because I think it's actually improved the carbing up process, to be honest. And you probably could use less fats, less carbs for the load. So it's even better for your waistline, for your appetite and stuff like that. Especially if guys water load or something like that, and they are filled out with the water. So like cranking up on 1200 carbs and 6 liters of water or something like that might be a pretty hectic to do. So this is why I do it like that. But yeah, maybe the pure carbs will go when I've reduced the water slightly, just like right before the show, just to keep them bump it up quicker. Yes, but not during the carbon up process. Okay, so what in a case that is a 2 day show? For example, Saturday is regionals, like in Poland, and Sunday is a pro qualifier. And we obviously probably gonna shoot for the pro qualifier, but the regionals is you're gonna present yourself in front of the judges that's gonna judge you the next day. So you have to be on point, or maybe 95% there. So how do you manage this situation?
Well, I think it's not that many times I've done it. So, but I saw one specific time, if I ate and drank basically everything I wanted, I looked even drier and fuller the next day, but I had a small film on my glute for some reason that wasn't there the day before, but I was better in many ways the next day.
Better package.
So, yeah, so you can do like that. And I tried also the other way around, just keeping as is, keeping the fat high, sip moderate water, salt moderate, and just have like more or less normal meals. And that seemed to be the best. And I stayed more or less the same. I maybe lost a little bit push, but skin became maybe a little bit more like rubberish. So it wasn't like that thin anymore.
Tight, yeah.
Yeah. So no, I never figured that out properly. So I don't know.
Yeah, here in Poland is very common, to be honest. Very, very common. Almost every show is 2 day show. So so we do it often. But the first method is kind of not predictable
No.
for me. Yeah, so I will never use that,
No.
especially when the guy is just right. He stepped off the stage, and if you told him just eat whatever you want and drink whatever you want, 95 of the guys gonna just go crazy,
Yeah,
and the
true.
next day
Yeah.
it's gonna be disaster. You
Yeah.
have to probably gonna use two types of diets like to do anything with those guys.
No, you have to be specific. You have to tell them
Yeah,
exactly
of
what to do.
course. Yeah, yeah. I like it better that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what in a case when you have competition back to back? So, for example, I try my best to do the regionals in Sunday, and the next Sunday I have a pro qualifier in England, for example.
Yeah. No, no, that's terrible. Back-to-back shows is I again with myself, I never managed to fill out for the second show. If I have 2 weeks in between, perfect. 3 weeks,
Yeah,
anything. I done up to 6, 8 weeks even in between. One season I did first show in March, and I was conditioned and had the last competition in June.
yeah,
So that works. But no, the best I figured for me and some of the people I've helped throughout the years was actually just eating more or less straight on diet again from the Monday on with the high fat and then just carb up. Most often they had to carb up a lot more, but I think also because they were not taking exactly the amount of electrolytes that I told them to take either. Because I noticed when I was really good with the electrolyte balance myself post show, it's much easier to carb up that Wednesday, Thursday if you have back to back shows. So
yeah,
that I say would be my best advice to eat more straight on diet again Monday and Tuesday with lower carb and a little bit higher fat and high protein. Like if like in your case, 450 grams of protein, high protein. And you see that in those 2 days that your skin changes a little bit even. And
yeah.
then electrolyte balance from day one, and then add carb up how much you need that Wednesday, Thursday, reduce again Friday. If needed, carb also on Friday, competition again Sunday.
Yeah, the protein is actually increase the diuresis, so
Yeah.
this is probably why they are have less rebound effect when you
Yeah,
increase
true.
the protein. Yeah, that's great idea. I never thought about it, to be honest, to utilize
Oh, but
that method.
that works the
Uh,
best. But
yeah, great. Great idea. Okay, so let's says that I come off the stage, I've got my pro card, we are all happy and like we bumping up fist and jumping up into the air. But what's now? What? How do you manage the coming out of the prep? Do you do something like a health phase, or you think that it's best to utilize those like a rebound phase right after the show? And if so, how?
if the blood works checks out, then you feel good and everything is right. You don't have to be androgenic. You could just be a little bit higher anabolic, and that usually you are by yourself by having that insulin sensitivity that's so well. So if you add a little bit of insulin because of the increased carbs that you're putting in, and of course the increased protein, you're utilizing that even better in that phase. So
Yeah,
so you don't have to use a lot. And I figured it's better to use that because I tried one time, actually a couple of times when I think about it, but especially this one time, I went completely everything off, didn't utilize that rebound at all, and I saw I didn't improve as much that year to the next year as I did the other years and the year after when I didn't do.
yeah.
So I think that, like I told you earlier in the call, I think it's important to utilize those periods, those 6 weeks starting off the diet, if you have an 18-week diet, and that rebound afterwards, 6 to 8 weeks. Really important. Then rather have that cleanup phase, after.
Okay.
Again,
Uh,
blood works has to decide also on how you feel and things like
uh,
that.
okay. What time? What period of time do you uh, like account for the rebound phase for most of the guys? Like a 6 to 8 weeks,
Yeah.
8 to 10, 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The more you force feed, the earlier, the shorter the rebound phase lasts.
of course.
The
Logical.
more if you're more so in the 6 week start of the diet, you have that slight deficiency. If in the rebound you have a slight surplus, you don't have an over surplus, because then you're fucking up too soon and you decrease sensitivity and you're not utilizing the nutrients as well as you also do in that 6-week period in the diet. So no, don't overeat. Find your baseline, because that you already figured out before you started a diet. So you can just jump straight to that. Don't mess around with that gradual increase reverse diet. It doesn't work. I tried many times.
It's shit. It's shit. Yeah.
Shit. I don't even know who came up with that crap. It doesn't work.
I know. Like those late Norton's crew and stuff like that. The 3DM muscle journey or something like that. They are called it. Those naturals people, like
Maybe for them.
Eric Helms and stuff like that. But even they are not doing it right now. Because this is basically, people think that they are growing and cutting at the same time just because they are slightly filling up, but it was just the glycogen. So they are just extending the cutting phase for over like 6 to 8 weeks more because you are still in a deficit. So this is a shit.
Way jump straight back to baseline and 300 to 600 calories above. And take those extra calories from protein and carbs. And also then, of course, those meals that you had that we talked about twice a week or 3 times a week, make them bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you were eating like 1 burger 3 times a week, then eat like, 1.5, 3 times a week. I don't know. As an extra,
Yeah, okay.
You don't want to be too much above baseline. That's the point.
Yeah. That will be at least the best approach. But what about the day after or 2 days after the show? Are you allowed your guys to eat whatever they want, or you keep in some sort of strict? For example, you can eat this, but avoid this, and that.
Yeah, no, you kind of have to, because again, it comes with the responsibility you have when you're advising, because you know that yourself. If people would then just chug in and eat everything they want, they're going to eat a hell of a lot of processed sugars and high fructose and everything. And we know that they're going to potassium deplete.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're going to have heart pounding. And again, you can go into cardiac arrest. No,
Yeah.
I firmly believe that electrolyte balance, increased protein, increased fat, in a day or two, no matter what. So that means when you're finished with the show, have a big fat burger, have 2, like, enjoy, but like don't overeat on candy and that kind of crap and stuff, because your body is coming off a rebound from electrolyte balance perspective. You're already depleted on sodium, and then all of a sudden you're chugging in sodium, you're chugging in water. So the body is just, what the hell is happening? So the mineral balance, electrolytes himself, gets completely messed up, because you're in a restrictive state from drinking to all of a sudden drinking 2, 3. So that you have to be a little bit careful with. So I would rather say be a little bit careful and gradually bring the water back in throughout those 2 days. Like start with like 4, 5, 6, but drink as much as feels normal, but don't like overdo.
Yeah, I have for myself like 48 hours rule, that I can eat whatever I want in 48 hours. But the difference is that I am not crazy like that anymore. For me, it's like more like, for example, I might eat a chocolate, but it's not gonna be I don't know, like 6 liters of ice cream and stuff like that. But just if I crave something, I eat it, but not to the point that I'm dying.
No.
That's the main rule for me. So keep it baseline, keep it clean, and for most of the times I've not eat anything beside the rice and salmon before the stage, and then maybe on the evening I eat something with my wife or something like that. So yeah.
So I mean, because there's a difference. Like there's a difference between having like 2 burgers and a couple of fries and 2 ice creams in one go, and that's what you have that day as extra. Fine. But when I say like don't go nuts, that's when people who starts with pancake syrups in the morning and then they finish up with a box of ice cream, 1,000 calories there, and then they go to another restaurant and they have 2 burgers there. They go for a pizza in the evening. They have a half a cake, and no. That's what I mean. There's something in between, and I prefer to be on the lower end.
I ask you the question that I never asked before to anyone. Are you have those crazy overeating periods after your first competition, or not?
No, I just ate like too much the first day and I got that heartbeat and I felt irregularity and that scared me. And then I Googled a lot and I read and then I figured out what happened. So I'm like, fuck no, never doing that again.
Oh,
No, but it put a scare in you, you know?
at the first show, I
Yeah,
was natural back then. I've eat so much that my stomach is basically almost blow up. So I just like crank it up myself in a position like a baby and go to sleep. And every time I wake up, I just go to the gas station, buy as much candies and chocolate as I can carry to my home, eat it till the point my stomach is hurting to the point that I can't physically live with that, go sleep again, and
yeah,
do it for a week.
yeah, yeah. No,
That was fucking crazy. I've gained like 20, I don't know, 15 to 20 kilos of pure fat in a week.
yeah.
That
Uh,
was crazy.
David, I'm sorry. I have another appointment now at 8.
We basically finished.
We
So
finished?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So thank you. Ole, I'm not gonna take you more time. So if anyone wants to go and find out about Ole a little bit more, everything you find in the description below this video. Thank you guys for staying with us, and I hope that Ole is gonna be a guest one more time because after I just click stop. I'm gonna have a question for him. So stay
Yes.
tuned and
Okay.
subscribe.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.